in the bag. They've got the victory out potentially, but you know the tournament's there. Bizzle lines up that legendary dragon shotgun, sits back a little bit, doesn't do as much damage from range, but that was more than enough damage to push that player off the level, as Aviv is going to go for the heal off a little bit early, leaves the toes exposed. There is a player under their build, only has the small fries. They're not going to top you up that much, but just enough to keep pushing forward. There he goes, gets the second last one off. It's a low ground, 2 teams alive, 6 players, a trio versus trio, head to head. Your first place team on high ground trying to make their way through the team that came in on 7th. A phenomenal performance. Both these teams have guaranteed already made top 10, but can they push up higher? Can Booger, Bizzle, and Clicks close out week 1 with a 50% win rate? With that heal off in the back pocket, I have to think it's going to be highly likely. Trashy comes up, the tack shots come out, that epic tack gets to work. Can he get the siphon? Needs the finish, he does. He takes down Bizzle. They're in zone, but where's Booger? He is nowhere to be seen. He is going for the heal off deep in Storm.
To see exactly how much they've won. Because we know these guys are, these guys have won by far by the most. So 3 victory rounds, extremely impressive.
Yeah, what a day from Clicks, Booga, and Bizzle. Be very interested to go ahead and watch those game backs to see how they were communicating those height takes and everything like that. An interesting thing to note.
And no doubt about it, but the battle bus is battling up right now. It's gearing up here, and we're jumping into the Fortnite world. Game number 1 of 6 is about to go down here. Who will get one step closer?
There is a deceptive amount of loot there. You think about the big POIs, the big names. I'm seeing 2 teams at Misty Meadows. I knew this was going to happen. I talked about it, Centered, Edgy, and Commandment. The kings of Misty Meadows are not here, so someone is going to be knocking on the door and trying to step up and take their throne. Craggy Cliffs, only 1 team. We know that's Kanata, Macwood, and Bucky, and let's see, who is it? Looks like we have Joji, Dictate, and Users, but I don't know if that is Joji, though. I think it's a different name right now, and we got another team on the other side. I love how Misty plays out, Monster. You've got the kind of delineated sides with the lake, and you get to see who's going to duke it out, or do they take their loot and run? Do you go for the big pot and try to battle it out?
Yeah, that is the true question here, and we'll find out shortly. But look, it's that 50-50 split like you mentioned. This is an east and west drop spot. Misty Meadow is big enough for 2 teams to definitely get comfortable, and we see players battle this fight time and time again. On the other side, Steamy Stacks is a very similar terrain, right? These are not those kind of drop spots that you just go all in and 50-50 for a weapon and then take the battle. These are drop spots heavily revolving around strategy. Bully, OSP, and OP here. Frisk, right? This is first C9. We've seen them fight so many times, right? Especially during the scrims. This is a fight and I guess a battle, a further drop that's been going on for weeks now.
4 weeks now, and you're going up against one of the competitive veterans. You've got Chap there, and he's also got Dukes and Threats. First time playing with them here, this FNCS, and man, I'm going to be one to admit, I knew a little bit about Threats and Dukes, and Chap just has such a skill, such a knack for finding underrated players and elevating them to FNCS levels, because this team has been doing so incredibly well, but they have found their match here. Bully has been going Steamy Stacks forever, and this team knows how to fight it, and it is one of the most interesting fights, right? Because Chap goes up now, trying to claim this stack. He's going to have to disengage. It's the only spawn fight that looks like this. It's the only spawn location that has these, you know, these stacks that you can fly around, elevate, get the high ground, hold people. It's one of the most interesting early games to watch, guaranteed.
Yeah, for sure. And Frisk already has the power drop, the hold on the high ground, and now he's going to be able to pinpoint the enemies out and possibly jump down for a pinch. But no, instead they're going to recoup with one another. There's still loot to be had here. There's so much gear here in this drop spot that you can actually farm up in these early instances, get all that ammunition and whatnot. And look, it's just a back and forth. It's almost like a mind game between the two, right? It's a taunting of sorts between both sides. No one's landed a big shot yet. Dukes is going to be the first one to take the snipe shot there, and that was from Frisk, who, by the way, hit that while he was in the air. So quite a ridiculous shot right there just to kick things off.
Yeah, let's kick things off. And this is a scary fighting team right now. And that's the one thing with the stacks. It does get a little bit awkward. Sometimes it's kind of hard to manage when you go off, when you go down. But they've got zone, so this fight can drag out a little bit longer. But this is going to be difficult for both these teams. We've seen it not just in this FNCS, but every FNCS monster. If you're contested on drop, even if you play it really well, even if you win it more times than not, it's enough to really affect your overall consistency. So it means that when you make it out, you have to have those big games. Right now, Frisk maybe going for an aggressive one. Not really sure about this play. He falls just a little bit short. short, takes a lot of damage before this fight even begins, doesn't have any shields left, has no mini, so right now Frist is looking a little bit worse for wear down here. They tried to push onto Chap's turf, and right now Duke's threats and Chap are looking okay, but I don't actually see Chap up here right now. I think Bully's taking advantage of that. They have the numbers game. Bully is all in, and he's trying to get into the box, and he does, gets the damage and takes down Chap, Dukes, and Threats. It is now 1-0 over at Steamy Stacks to Bully's team.
Yeah, if you blinked, you missed Chap getting taken out in the initial opening instances there, and all of a sudden, Bully comes in with the full trio, sweeps them up and under the rug. Now, though, Nut, Zypha, and company here, holding that high ground. Joji down low with his teammates, of course, back-to-back here. Already 3 eliminations for them, so seems like they've had quite an interesting, quick fight already unfolded. Now, have another team landing right on top of them, looking to see if they can wrap this up.
Yeah, we got some really good fights around the map. I'm seeing the top left there. I'm also 9 in games like we know. But it just shows, because some of those kings aren't in this, because some of those big names who've had these drop spots on lockdown for weeks aren't here, you've got teams like that are trying to vie their way in and try to claim it if they can, as Zypha tries to claim these builds with a beautiful use of the gas can, trying to find angles there, has that green charge shotgun, but he's taken fire from the gas can he used, has the slurp, has the chug splash, we also try and put that one out maybe.
Yeah, but that was worth it. 10 HP for a crack on the 72 for the shot that he hit right there is definitely worth it here. Now, Six again, another 70-plus pop shot there. Not too bad here. The edit's going to be good. The knock was even better. And there goes the full-on finish. They got this guy dead to rights here. Backed against the wall. Should be a 3v1 close-in. And yes, they're going to full W key into the box here, Ozzy. There's no way you survive those.
No, and this is a brand new team. It's interesting to see Zypha, Twexy, and Nut have only formed most recently in the last week. If you guys saw, Zypha was playing with Scoped earlier, decided that he was going to go split with him, play with Nut, and then they picked up Twexy, which is the ex-console god himself, and proving that he can hang with the best of the best in the PC now. So he's on the main stage, he's on the grand finals here, as I see Okus as well in the feed, as we're going to see, looks like Ronaldo's team get into a little bit of an engagement as well. So there's some big names going across the board. We're already below the Storm Surge threshold.
Yeah, look at that, and we don't really get to see this very often. I feel like we're looking at a brand new NA East style of gameplay here. Teams looking to roll into cities and clear them out, and that's what we watched just go down here at the Misty Meadows. That's going to need, that team's going to have to hit the drawing board, right? Users dictating, they're going to have to hit the drawing board, because if they, one, they're dropped that quickly, but then they're just going to get pushed and taken out by Zypha's crew, they're going to do that over and over, and next time, they might not even finish that first fight so fast, so we'll see what they can do as far as adjusting their playstyle. On the other side, though, the Colossal Coliseum, very weird terrain to battle in, a tough place to fight if you're not prone to the box-to-box, hip-to-hip type of playstyle.
Yeah, we saw a lot of aggression breaking down around this area in OCE last night, Monster, but I'm pretty sure Calc Sebi just want to set up here on the edge and go for tags. This isn't their drop spot. Like I talked about, I think this is the team that's getting that really big split across the bridge, all the way that area between Dirty and Coliseum, all the way down to Lazy, and it looks like this is going to be their spot to set up for Surge tags, and it's a beautiful spot to do so. All clear terrain, really clear sightlines on all these players. I think they moved in a bit early as well, because I definitely saw in the feed that Paper and Jamper's team picked up an elimination early, so they were contested. Maybe seeing if they can come clean this one up, but not needing to, as Calc is actually set up right next to Voil and Rokame, which is a team that he had a short stint with in the recent week. So maybe a bit of bad blood there, I'm not sure, but he has been performing so well with Sebi and Furious. And Furious is a player that had more earnings than anyone else during the solo FNCS year, popping off completely, but has just struggled to find a team that he works with or wants to stick with him. So I'd love to see this trio pop off here today, because they definitely did that yesterday in the qualifiers.
And you made a good point there. Furious, definitely one of those ones that's traded hands a few times now. We'll see how he can, hopefully settle down with someone like Calcula, who Calcula as well in recent times has been struggling to find himself a home of a team. And Sebi now is trying to fill in that role as well. So here's Hap, Uvik, and Daxter. Daxter, someone, again, talk about players missing their better half as far as the lead up, right, of what we've seen from Daxter. Daxter, and again, now by himself here, is going to have to play with Hapt and Uvik. This is a team that's trying to figure things out. So many new teams, I feel like, are breaking into the space and really just trying to see how this competitive season is going to treat them.
Yeah, and we saw some other names come out in FNCS. That's what FNCS is for. That's what the official broadcast is for, to highlight these players that you maybe haven't heard about as well. If they aren't streaming the games, usually you don't get to see just how they're performing, but that is why it's here, and that's why we're doing it in so many regions this year around Monster. Worldwide, people are getting their chance to step up and make a name for themselves, and with the qualifying system these weeks, with 4 rounds, you really do get the best of the best in these final rounds. So it's going to be indicative of how maybe potentially the semifinals into finals are going to look. So we talked about it. Top 10 gets you automatically qualified. So if you're going to get top 10, you've got to do it in a big way, because you've got to sit back for 2 weeks and let the other teams duke it out. And that's when drop spot contentions become a little bit more awkward. You can't defend the drop that maybe you had on lockdown. So this FNCS system is entirely different, and it's going to be so interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, for sure. Here goes the little rotate down the river now. Daxter already tagged once on the move here, trying to see if he can continue to make it to the new zone. It seems like this is going to be a northern pool. Uvik playing a bit more passively. You can see building earlier, and Daxter gets punished again. Remember, every time he gets tagged, that's a big pot, right, that they're digging into their resources. A shield fish potentially here. You can see Hapt only has another chug splash left, so they've already used a lot of their resources to heal up. And this is a bit early in the rounds, right? Only 70 players in the lobby, so for them to be getting tagged so soon, it's kind of unfortunate. And I mean, not even a prime location either. They don't have, I'd say, the prime desert terrain or anything like that.
Yeah.
They do have the meadow, of course, at their disposal, but this is not not the greatest position to be in, and it's all because they were held out just a little bit by Calculator, Sebi, and company, who's on the edge of the Coliseum.
Yeah, those early rotates is why this part of the map is so good. If you drop in, there's a very good chance you have a prime real estate when it comes into first or second zone. If you're center map, chances are statistically it's going to pull towards you, and you get to set up early, get those tags. Now we get sights on one of the most popular teams coming into this one that has a lot of pressure on them. Clicks, Booger, and Bizzle recently forming in. A lot of questions around how they would perform, but they really are proving people wrong at the moment who doubted them as a team with their chemistry. 3 phenomenal names on paper, but people kind of questioning how well they'd work together. So far in this FNCS, especially this week, really, really well.
Yeah, it's almost like looking at three alpha leaders trying to follow one person. Like, who is really going to take the reins here? Who's going to lead this team when you have 3 dominant players in Booga, in Bizzle, in Clicks, all of which have their own decorated histories. Again, this is a star-studded team. I don't think we've ever seen one of this caliber, of this nature, form and band together and find this much success. I'd say the closest we'd probably have is their counterparts to EU, right? The MMB trio. And even then, this is still a different caliber of Booga, Clicks, and Bizzle, because in recent times, all 3 of these guys have been shining as individual players.
Yeah, they have. And like you said, it's big personalities too. That's what always concerns you. Who's going to listen to who? But the way they've divvied up seems really, really smart. It looks like Bizzle's kind of lent into that early and mid-game IGL, or in-game leader, as we like to call it, who decides where they're going to set up, where they're going to rotate, how they're going to get their Storm Surge tags. And then seeing Clicks move into a role that not a lot of people expected. He's actually taken on more of a tarping and leadership role when it comes to endgame. We talk about tarps as just the player that builds those big structures that get you to zone. When you've got 60 people on top of you in such a small area, someone has to keep you protected and decide which way you're going to go. And usually Clicks being known as one of the best fraggers or the best player at getting eliminations with those just incredible mechanics. But him leaning into that role has been so fantastic to watch. It's like he's had like a new life, especially in team game modes, because that's where Clicks has struggled a bit. FNCS Grand Finals, team game modes is where Clicks really needs to prove that he's still got it. And I think with the way they've shifted this team, I think they can do just that. And obviously Vivid does too. He picked him as their prediction to win.
Yeah, no doubt. And you think about what Booga was filling as far as roles before. Booga was the one who was lead tarping, right? He had to be IGL, but also he wanted to be looking for those frags, and that was where he was having a problem. He didn't want to be the IGL for his team. So again, Click stepping up to that role, Booga falling back into that primary fragger really allows him to hyper focus. And if he has to, he knows how to keep up mechanically just as good as Click. So it really is a power dynamic of a trio. Here though, the drone shot showing you guys all the big boys on the scene right now. There is no safe place in sight, especially with how many of these squads are holding a pillar right on the Coliseum. Like every single which way you can see out in the distance is being watched like a hawks. Right here from C9's Nos, Jam for Paper on the other side. You have Voyu, Rokane. You have Kalkin, Sebi's team watching that other corner. Like no one is safe here on the desert.
No one's safe around the desert, and you hear those sniper shots ring out. It's one of the main things you carry in the inventory. With the removal of most mobility that you can carry, it's really, it's either triple meds, an assault rifle, and a shotgun, or usually it's assault rifle, shotgun, sniper, or maybe harpoon. It doesn't give you a lot of options, which means a lot of people do have those snipers in the back pocket, as we see a bit of a beam there on, I believe that may have been Macwood's team that was rotating. But I talk about lack of carryable mobility, but this part of the map, you have two main ways to get around right now. You can use those 0-point rocks that you break around, use them, and then you get that kind of dashing mobility boost, or go into the sand and see if you can tunnel your way in, which normally in a normal game feels a lot safer. But with this many eyes on you, you've really got to be careful, as it was Macwood's team that moved. Kanata, Bucky, and Macwood, my picks here to win today, a little bit spread out, which isn't super unusual with this one, but the way they've set up, they must already have a decent amount of storm surge, because they don't have a lot of sight lines down here, but that can also be a positive. Less people can see them.
Yeah, definitely. Macwood got sniped there by C9's Nosh. So let's see what knock they can pick up. Go ahead and reset and keep themselves comfortable. They're looking to grab at this moment.
Yeah, gotta try and get some area here. And Panzuni's an aspect have been performing so well coming into this one, so I'm excited to see how they go. You've got, you got a veteran in there. It's so crazy when it comes to NA East. There's just those big names that just have been around for so long. We talked about how Viv is now on the analyst desk since the skirmish days. He's been playing against Aspect for just that long as well, still performing. Reverse 2K World Cup qualifier back, our FNCS returning champions with Miro and Day, a team that shocked a lot of people to actually split after last FNCS monster, but they're back together and they've been looking really good, and that is a scary loadout in the hands of Miro. I think we answered who's going to be going Hydro Dam.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that the way the competitive season is going to break out this time around. If they win again, if they qual or place top 3 again after the finals, they do get to continue their reign into the next FNCS. You basically get a free pass. So they figured, hey, why not just go back for the 2-peat here and see what they can do? And I mean, they have the skill to do it, right? The scrims prove it. The fact that they can continue to qualify for these stages, these late stages in the games, also prove it, right? Look at how many teams did not make it this far, and they got in comfortably. It wasn't a team that struggled, right, or had a rough time per se. They've got a strategy, and they've continued to pull through. The season hasn't changed that much since the last time they were here.
Yeah, definitely. The biggest issue they were having was their drop spot. They were trying to go Salty Towers into N Panzuni's an aspect that wasn't working. The way the FNCS works as well, same thing. Night before they've seen, wait, Zate's team hasn't qualified. Let's go Hydro Dam. And they are one of the scariest teams. If they say they're going somewhere, I doubt other people are looking to go there, as Jack, Acorn, and Slacks beautifully use those 0 points I was talking about earlier. They each pop one. They get to dart into zone. It's so much harder to hit an opponent when they're jumping around that fast. The biggest risk, though, which you saw them counter perfectly, is when you go to use it, there's that like half a second it takes to activate. You are so vulnerable to any amount of beam or headshot snipe potentially, so boxing up on those and using them for later rotates, just showing why they're some of the best.
Yeah, for sure. Now polarized. They're looking around. Also, a couple elims on this team. They're going to be A-okay for anything that's going to go down. Ronaldo's going to fall in the feed there to AJ. BBG AJ, who we just saw just a little bit ago. And there goes that storm surge warning that I was trying to prep us up for. We knew that it was going to happen. We knew that the opening instances were going to be a bit of a war of sorts. And it was just that. We were down to 70 players after the first zone close. That is not something we see very often. That is not a traditional NA East-paced game. I mean, even OCE had more players than that. Like, remember, that first game we watched, we had no teams drop for over a minute and a half in the first instances. NA East is already ready. They're primed for the setting right now. In game one, they don't need warm-ups. They don't even need introductions. They know who's in front of them.
Yeah, they know each other. This is one of the best practice scenes in the world. They scrim against each other day after day using custom matchmaking, and man, their games are phenomenal. So they know how to play these ones, but again, some of those players they're used to playing haven't made it in, so there's kind of a few spanners in the works, and they need to step up and control something. Macwood, a team that's been doing phenomenally well, not looking too great right now, dropping back into this full-built hard mats. When we talk about hard mats, brick and metal, because they're just so much harder to break, and luckily they had this base on the low ground to kind of retreat back into, and luckily they have more than enough meds to heal this one out. as zone doesn't look like it's going to be too difficult for them, as looks like Lupin's going to get the pick up there as well. But this is where NA East does it best, Monster. The lobby's cleared out a little bit now as people trying to claim their drops, but this is where they show their prowess, how good they are at rotating, how good they are at positioning. I'd be surprised to see many people go down now, except for Storm Surge, and I believe that is on Jack, Acorn, and Slacks right now.
Yeah, huge Storm Surge down the other side of the wall. Sebi and Calculator as well. A Storm Surge team, a team under pressure, is the scariest team to have nearby to you because they have to jump in your box. They have to fight you if they don't have a ridiculous amount of heals to sustain the zone. And it doesn't look like Jack, Acorn, and Slacks had that because they were already inching their way closer to the enemies nearby. Nos, Jamfer, and Paper do have that first half in, half out zone, and they also have it on top of the Coliseum.